I know you guys were waiting downstairs patiently. Thanks for being patient.
Thank
Go ahead
you.
and introduce yourself and tell us about what you're doing here at CES.
Yeah, so my name is Jose Santiago. I'm the CEO and founder of Reboot Imagine. We're a next generation managed service provider, right? So what we do is we focus on forward-facing technologies. Right now, virtual reality, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence are kind of taking over CES. And we are building a company with the DNA of, I am a tech, from as early as I could probably remember. And when you start learning about about technology and you start adapting the advancements, people start seeking your help, right? Everybody remembers, and they can probably relate with me if they're in the tech industry, they fix their parents' computers, their friends.
That's right.
We become nothing but glorified help desk techs. But we started realizing, oh man, virtual reality, augmented reality, how do we help adoption of the next generation? How would we build the medicine with the candy for businesses, enterprises, private industry to embrace these technologies, right? So we started really looking at what is required to adopt and understand these technologies in a very productive way, right? Right now, everybody loves virtual reality and love the metaverse, but if you look at every single booth out here, unfortunately, there's a lot of misappropriation of the word metaverse, AI, virtual reality. So you can tell there's a very big lack of knowledge. So we started building infrastructure, understanding. I come from an IT MSP background, so I worked with a lot of different industries in the tech field, and just pretty much started realizing, okay, this is what's needed. This is the infrastructure that's required. What is the drivers of adoption? Right now, esports, a lot of entertainment technologies, pretty much understanding content creation. We're working with influencers that have a lot of influence in the new age of technology, right? TikTok, YouTube Reels, and that's pretty much what we started focusing on, man. Building as much infrastructure and support mechanisms to help these businesses adopt these technologies.
So, I think that misappropriation is a pretty big word, because someone says it's AI. I'm like, hey, what's AI about it? Is it really AI, or have you just programmed some
It's a pre-allocated word.
Yeah, and so, unless you can really look under the hood, you really don't know if they're actually doing something that is, truly adaptive. But so I guess the question then is, when you go in and talk with clients, what is the kind of the conversation you have with a company?
The first conversation is, what is your understanding? What has you prepared for the next generation, right? We know AI is coming, virtual reality is coming, spatial computing is almost here, and people immediately, when they think of spatial computing, they immediately think of virtual reality. They think of Minority Report. And my first question to them is, how do you get your inaccessible, visually impaired employees into these spaces? And they're shocked. They don't have a response for that.
Right.
Spatial computing is using technology to its absolute limit to bring those that don't have the accessibility to get into these spaces, right? One of my biggest passions is trying to see the visually impaired, the audibly impaired in virtual spaces. That's when we're going to start seeing adoption. That's when people are going to start realizing, okay, there's value here for remote workers, because now there's tools in place for them to have a real sense of presence.
And this is something that's kind of true to my heart. It's kind of ironic that my first guest today is, we're obviously podcasters, but we're streaming live. So when we're streaming live, the closed captions situation is it's good on almost all the platforms. But for many, many years, when we would put up a podcast as a audio medium, there was no closed caption to go along. So one of the things my personal company did last year was put in place to have closed caption within podcasts. So when people was watching on a web player, they could follow along. Now they could always read a transcript. We don't have emotion and that stuff yet. It's kind of raw, but it's a start. And here we've been all these years having helping the visual impaired consume content on the web, and then the audio folks have been left behind. As a matter of fact, I was talking with someone yesterday that has a speech impairment. The metaverse can, if people think about, I think about the metaverse. It's kind of funny. Is like the original metaverse was like Second Life.
Yeah.
Back in the day. So how, if that was 15 years ago, whatever it was, the Second Life came out, which it's still online. how do we actually get vision impaired people into that? That's going to be very, very difficult to navigate.
And
so
that's the exciting part, right? Because there's so much technology now that's being born, right? Augmented reality, artificial intelligence, right? There's a lot of voids and gaps that are being created. You mentioned speech impairments and the ability for let's think of autotune, right? Autotune is actually a tool that kind of it's filling in the gaps and it's adjusting your voice. There's going to be tools that will be able to facilitate conversations, even for those that have the inability to speak a specific language or have the ability to communicate. That's the value. It's building that conversation, having people understand.
Don't you think those would be the first tools where, I know a smattering of Spanish, but don't you think that'll be the first tools where we're both on Bluetooth and I'll speak English, whoever I'm talking to will hear it in Spanish and vice versa? I think, those are the types of things that I think we need as a tech community, stuff that just makes us closer.
Yes.
And makes us able to work together. So I'm hoping that continues to evolve along with, what they're technically terming the metaverse.
I'm a big believer in the metaverse is nothing but the pre-beginnings of us trying to figure out the word to define universal language, right? Because accessibility is nothing for us having the ability to build bridges for us to communicate, understand, and have the empathy in order for us to connect with each other. And that's the value of all of these technologies kind of like getting into a position where they're turning into building blocks, and where now we just need to create, okay, what is required for me to communicate with this side, and what is required for us to build around it and for us to collaborate. That's what the metaverse is. I love one of my biggest, a lot of people use Second Life as an example of the metaverse, but I'll give you a more fun one, the Macy's Day Parade, right? You're seeing all types of IPs in floats and blimps. You see so much branding and advertising, communication, but you're also interacting with the performers on the streets. You have a sense of presence, but you feel like you're part of something bigger. You know it's being broadcasted all across the world, and that's the value of building the blocks for that. It's the next forum. It's the next library. It's very exciting that we're building that.
And I think there is many definitions of metaverse, and it'll probably work its way out within the next 3 to 5 years and figure out where it's going.
Most definitely.
Well, again, give people information on where they can reach you.
Yes.
And check you out.
Yeah, so my company's called Reboot Imagine. You can definitely Google me as Jose the VR Tech. I kind of carved myself some SEO there, but I'm very active on Twitter, Instagram. I'm part of the F Reality podcast, so I'm very involved in the technology space. I love talking about this. And that's why I decided to build a company, right? A lot of people are in the MSP and the IT services provider industry, but they're kind of focused on technologies that are established.
Sure.
I'm building a company that kind of sees a snowball that's slowly getting bigger and bigger. CES is proving it. VR is here to stay. AI, augmented reality is taking off. We're seeing so many reference designs. Glasses are getting better. We're at the glasses form factor stage now. So now it's just building the building blocks to adopt the next generation. So once again, Reboot Imagine, Jose the VR Tech.
Thank you much for coming on.
Thank you.
Have a great show.
Thank you as well. Thank you.